Welcome students. Today the class will be all about certain basic aesthetics of ASP.NET regarding how to publish your own web application onto internet rather, or at least onto your own computer using IIS. So this is going to be one of the very important class regarding like how to publish your self-created website. For that we definitely need a web server. Now, in the Microsoft stack, the website that we normally use will be Internet Information Services, or IIS for short. Normally, when we create the web applications in Visual Studio, we get a ready-made web server to test your web application, but that is simply a testing environment, not a real one. So it's very much important for us to see how do we really create our own website and ultimately host it in your own computer. So let us create a dummy website right now by clicking new and clicking new project, new website. We can create any just website for that matter. A lot of interesting things will be taught today in this class, maybe a short one. So maybe deploy. Let us name the website as deploy itself. Fine. And let us create an empty website and click OK to create this empty website. In Visual Studio 2010 and above, normally what happens is that you don't get any such other files. We just get a simple web config file. Now this is a startup for any web application. This is not that simple one because it contains a lot of settings pertaining to your web application. So I'm not drilling any further into this particular concept right now. However, let me right click on this and let me click add new item to click a fresh new website, a web page, and the page's name is default.aspx. So a fresh new website has got added onto our website, and for the sake of simple testing, let me quickly add and drag and drop a button that just displays the current time right now. So let me add a button and a label, and let me just change text to show current time. And as you know, it's important for us to name it appropriately, like not exactly button 1, rather btn show time. So that is how the buttons and controls are named, and let me double click on it to show some date on that label. And the simple coding is label.text equal to read the current time from the system, that is by using datetime.now. Now if I use toString method on it, we can actually format the date time according to our own need. Like in United States we have MMDD format, but in India we have DDMMY format, but definitely I follow one standard, that is DD, and then 3 acronym month name and YYYY, that is the year part, and HH colon MM SS and TT, for TT is anti-meridian or post-meridian, that is AM and PM. So that is a very simple website we have created. You see that the moment I press F5, you are greeted with this web server, and this web server runs on an arbitrary port number right now, and that has started right now in the port number 1108, and this is nothing but your current testing web server using which you run your application every time. And this is a small window that says that whether you want to enable debugging on the web server. I'll cover more on debugging in the later stages of our tutorial. It's a kind of whether you can debug your program by holding breakpoints or not. So it's a very simple just website indeed that is being taken care by this particular this web server. So this itself runs on a particular port number, and this is how the web URL looks like. I'll be just throwing some light on the structure of this root URL. So let me click on it and show that the time is indeed the time that you are seeing right now is 26 December 2012, 8:51:47 p.m. right now in India. So the concept is that if I stop this web server and if I start Visual Studio, once more the web server will be popping in. And even if after you have started the page and if we somehow manage to stop this web server, maybe that I will copy this URL and I can start another such browser to see what this URL is going to take me to. You click it and you'll just get the result, definitely. But in case if you stop this particular web server, definitely don't expect any further information that you can get. Now if I click this, you can see our site has hanged. That is basically you don't have an access to the localhost 1108. That is, the web server is no more present. Oops, Google Chrome couldn't connect to localhost. That means the web server isn't present. So that is a basic condition that happens whenever you are not able to connect to the remote web server. Okay, let me start it once more, and let me just dissect the URL portion of it. You see this http://2 and localhost, a colon is there and 1108 is there. What is this? This is basically a port number. Every application that is client server oriented, it can be any application. Please understand this simple philosophy, that any application that is client server oriented definitely listens to each other on some port. Now what is port basically? Like if I talk to you, your ears are open for my words to be listened, right? So you can consider your ear is a port, right? So you can consider that port is nothing but your ear, right? So this is how is the analogy between port and the human ear, by which you hear. So ports are normally software ears of an application, and it's possible that a particular server can basically expose a lot of different ports. You can somehow consider ports as gates. Like you think that there is a building and there are different gates that are actually responsible for you to get inside different departments. Maybe that if you enter by this gate, you will be going to the hospital portion of this building. Maybe if you go by this gate, you'll just end up in some other section of this building. Maybe the building is hosting both hospital as well as a bank, which you normally find in many of the multi-storied buildings in our locality. Like one such is North Point. It has a bank as well as a hospital. So that's it. Depending upon which gate we use, you are landing up to a different section, all totally a different section. So you can consider a port as one such gate through which you can enter, and subsequently you can take the service of that particular application. So normally you'll never find in the URL portion a port number is normally mentioned, like http www.facebook.com or to say www.microsoft.com. Now, do you ever say that we want to get the information from this port number 80? Never we write so, because it's default for web applications to run and listen on port number 80. Like all web applications run and default to port number 80. So even if you change this to something again back to 80 port number, you'll find the browser to omit that port number and transfer the information as is. But if you somehow change the port number to something else, you will definitely not find the browser to change it, and we'll be sending the information as is to the web server, and like as if 81 port number is being listened by the web servers. Let us see if 81 is being listened by the Microsoft.com web server right now. Hit enter, and the server takes a while to send the request, and I think subsequently this must fail, and it has failed already. So actually it is trying hard to get some information on that particular port, but ultimately it will definitely fail. Sending request, but it has failed. That is, there is no such server software listening at port number 81. That is, you don't have gate number 81, sorry. So either it is closed or it is not, simply not present. So it's very much important for us to understand the URL portion of the application, that is having the domain portion and the port number in which the server software is actually listening to the remote request, and then subsequently the other part follow the actual resource path. That is, this default aspect is within English India, and by some means it has identified the location in which I am right now. It is English India, and default.aspx is a resource that is being sought after. So you see that this is a whole round URL that contains the domain name, the port number, and the actual resource being requested. So this is how the URLs are. So they are domain names, and the port number in which the server software is supposed to listen the request, and then the request, and then the actual request. Normally we omit this information, and we think the server is already pre-configured to understand what is the default request file if nothing is being typed over here. So if I type nothing, it automatically defaults to some page that the server understands it has to be redirected to the client. So that was a simple thing that you must understand regarding the URL portion. So now the thing is that definitely, is it possible for us to omit this port number and run it in our own local computer? Like just we want to do it just as if we don't want this Visual Studio to start up, but yet we want our application to run. This is quite possible. For that you need to have IIS installed in your PC. So let us see that what are the steps that you should take about it. The first important step is that actually renaming this to something else for a reason. Though you don't have to rename right now, but I want to just rename it to something else, maybe home and .aspx. And just let me check whether home.aspx is fine to be displayed right now or not. Yes, it is displaying, that's fine, it's just working fine. So what you need to do is that you need to install IIS. And how do you actually make sure that IIS is installed in your system or not? Just simply go to click start any of your just favorite browser and just type in localhost. And if you press enter, if you find something displaying, that means IIS is already installed. Most likely IIS will not be installed in your system because your system isn't a server system. If you were running a Windows 2003 or Windows 2012 for that matter, for that definitely they are pre-configured with the IIS settings. But normally Windows 7 or Windows 8 systems or Windows XP systems or Vista systems, they aren't like server systems. So IIS is not already present by default. So it's possible for us to install IIS. Just go and click Control Panel. Click add a new program option. Where is that? I'm poor at locating things. Yes, program and features. Use Bing, and you can see a lot of software that are already being pre-populated or pre-installed in the system. But normally I am not interested in the software right now. Rather, I'll click on turn Windows features on and off. So turning Windows feature on and off, this will take a time while to load. So you will find one such option is IIS, Internet Information Services, and that is by default ticked off. It's not initially installed. So if you if you feel that you want to do certain testing on IIS itself, so feel free to tick those options. Not only will find IIS, as the name suggests, this is all about turning Windows features on and off. So there are a lot of different Windows features that you can really tick on or tick off if you don't like it. Like even if you don't want the system to be having a browser option at all. That is, you don't want the system to have browser at all. Maybe due to some parental control or for such anything, you don't want those stuff to be present. You can definitely just delete the software, actually deselect the software and click next, click OK, so that Microsoft Windows configures your system not to have those softwares present or working in your PC. So it takes a while so that it can just match all the softwares. It's fine that you already have a certain softwares, like I don't have, maybe like Telnet server is not like, as because this is not a server system, so Telnet client, Telnet server, don't expect these things to be present. Windows Search Systems is already installed. Services for NFS, a lot of things are not already installed. But definitely if you're running Windows 7, you can be quite sure that you're having .NET Framework 3.5 already installed and already being selected while you have installed Microsoft Windows. But the thing that you will not find normally is the Internet Information Services. So but definitely, as because my system I have already configured it to be having IIS, so I have configured that. But even within that, I didn't like to have FTP server within. So FTP server is again a different sort of server system within the IIS itself. It is about a file transferring protocol, so it is not needed. What is all needed is that to have IIS present or not. So if I click this plus, you'll find a lot of different tools. For short, the rule of thumb is that if you don't believe that what to be installed or what not to be installed, click this and click here, whatever that comes in your way. Click FTP, click this web management tools, click IIS compatibility, click IIS management console, everything and anything that comes within this section. Go ahead and click everything to make sure that IIS is fully installed in your system. I have done that way. Anyway, so once the IIS is there, I'm quite sure that you just click OK. Actually, I should have clicked cancel, but I have clicked OK. But even if the system didn't proceed to install anything further, because the system understood that no change has been made. So either you want to like uproot certain software or plug in plant new softwares from that region, you can definitely do that. So let us see that what really need to be done if I have to actually have this particular application running even without Visual Studio being popped in. So for that matter, let me first right click on this project, go to open folder in Windows Explorer, and this is a set of files that you already have within this deploy folder. So these are the files that really need to be deployed. Fine. So these are the 3 files that really need to be copied and pasted somewhere. So let me see how to do this. You simply copy this, all this whole stuff. Actually, I did not copy this web.config because I already have a web.config in the location that I would like to paste right now. So just forgive me that I am not copying web.config, but it is important for you to copy web.config as well. Let me copy this and let me minimize this, and that let me go straight into a folder that actually has that information. Can please anybody tell me that where is it? Where do I really place files so that it can be run anywhere, like it can be run as if I am running my own web server? Anybody please can just tell me the name of that that folder? Well, actually it is within inetpub. This path directly within C drive gets created if you install IIS. The rule ends, right? So within this you have a few folders, but within that you have still a folder is www root, definitely so, and definitely don't expect all this huge stuff to be present initially, as because I was doing some testing purpose, so it is indeed present. So better what I'll do is that I'll create a new folder and let's just dump all this stuff right now within it, so that it doesn't create any such side effects, right? So I'll copy this all stuff right now. Yes, that is fine. So now I can happily copy just those 3 files, not just 2, just 3 files. So Control A and Control C, and come up over here and come to this www root and paste it up here. That means you are having 3 important sections. That is web.config is the configuration file. That is kind of registry information. If you ever have gone through registry or just like registry tweaking, so kind of settings that pertains to this ASPX files within this web.config file, and this is the only page that you are hosting right now. So let us click start any such browser. Now this time I have started. So HTTP Kashmir tourism, double click and then localhost, and then no port number, nothing, hit enter. I think it was inside cache maybe. Yes, it was inside cache indeed, because sometimes web server is not configured context was directory. Let me just type the okay, that's fine. Thing is that by default web server tries to get a file whose name is default.aspx, as because the file name has been changed to home.aspx. Let me try and let me see whether this comes or not. This should come if I haven't done any, because I'm in habit of like changing or tweaking my IIS settings, but hopefully it has run. That's fine. So it's localhost whack home.aspx. You see this is show current time is coming, and this time just simply forget Visual Studio at all. If I just click stop this Visual Studio, you can find this to be working just fine. And from now onwards, anybody from any part of the world if happens to get the IP address of my computer, that is definitely from my PC I'm typing in localhost, but if from some other part of the world, like say I'm trying to do something else, maybe go to properties section. Let me see what IP current. I think it is 192.163. Status, yes, that's right, status. Go to status portion and you'll find that inside the details portion you'll find the IP address. This is the DSCP server, basically my router down, and it is the IPv4 address is 192.168.1.5. so tapping in 192.168.1.5 should definitely show the same stuff. So let me try. If something wrong happens, just forgive me. 192.168.1.5 and hit enter. The same stuff has come indeed. You'll find the same stuff coming up, right? So if this is an open URL, you can definitely tell anybody from any part of the world that look, I have a web server temporarily, so go ahead and type my URL right here. Just place just copy and place this one, this IP address, and you can just hit enter to see the web page that you have hosted locally into your PC. So without paying anybody, it is possible for you to, if you can somehow manage to get a static IP, you can definitely just run a web server in your own home. It is quite possible. So that is how we can actually copy and paste the application right into the root directory of www root. But the question is that if you have to run more than one application in your own computer, how do you really segregate that? Please understand the point. If you're having another application, maybe that you are having another such application how will you definitely run that application? Like I'm having other applications too in my computer. Let me take any one of these, maybe within Pankaj directory, and let me add cookies. That's fine. So maybe that certain files are there to test for cookies. So what I want is that I want like the same thing to happen. So definitely don't have to rename the page from default to home, fearing that already a default is present inside www root. So it is quite important for us to. Okay, that's fine. 22 minutes of recording till now. That's fine. So now just what I want is that to really make sure that this cookies itself is a deployment unit. That is, itself is a web folder. Like I would like to run the application right from within this cookies directory. So in this regards, what you need to do is actually there are two ways definitely. One is by using a virtual directory within the main directory. That is, you don't have to change the port number at all. And another thing is that you can create a dedicated application for these cookies. So the later point of the later is of just more interest to us. That is, what you can do is that you can have a subdivision, that http://localhost, because localhost itself is an application that has certain files within it. You can understand, because HTTP localhost automatically maps to www root. I think by now you have understood this, because whatever you type in HTTP localhost and then some file, type in some file, that automatically gets mapped to this www root. So it is a default one, please understand. So that is one is the fastest and quickest way to test for the deployment of your web application. So you can copy and paste within www root to test your web applications almost immediately. But if you have more than one web application, maybe some other application, how will you really put all the applications in the same folder? It's not possible, because if you do that, it can inadvertently replace certain files of the original application. So let us not copy and paste at all. Let me make sure that we are here itself, but somehow we'll be mapping that request to this cookies directory. Right. So there are two ways of doing stuff. First, by using a virtual directory. For that, what you can do is that we don't have to change the port number. Rather, we'll just type in cookies, and it will be ultimately mapped to this particular directory. Right. So it's a kind of creation of virtual directory. Right now, I'm omitting that information right now. But what I want is that, what I really wish is that I like to have our own port number, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. and that itself will be an application. Please understand, this is the topic of today's class rather. Like typing in http colon localhost, then colon the port number, then followed by the resource name if you wish to name it. And if you omit the resource name, it will default to the default.aspx, right? So it will automatically default to default.aspx. So it is important for us to understand that if you want to name the resource default.aspx, it is quite fine, but if you really omit that, it will automatically be defaulting to default.aspx, as because the original application that we have just placed didn't have a default.aspx, so we have to type in the name of the file very clearly, otherwise it was not able to understand which file to invoke. So right now let me create a new web application under IIS. To do that, you now need to open up the IIS Management Internet Information Services Management Console. So there are two ways of doing the stuff to open up the IIS Management Console. One is by using inet SRV. The name I'm just forgetting. It is INET MGR. Just I happen to forget that one. Yes, IMT MGR. That's right. INT MGR. That is right. So actually, what I wrote that time. INET. I think I just wrote something wrong. So I cannot, of course, just rewind and see. So you see that, you can definitely see that. There are other ways also. You can go click Control Panel, and you can actually have this administrative tools pop in, and from this administrative tools section, you can have this this Internet Information Services Manager tab to be present over here. The thing is that you will not find this if you haven't installed IIS. So if you have installed IIS, definitely just double click on it to have this present on your PC. Now I need to do the configuration. Is find that if you click this site section, you have this default website. I have a lot of other websites because I was explaining the concept to other students also, and for other applications. So this is the only instance that you will find once after installing the IIS. So let me go create another application. If you want to create a sub directory or a virtual directory under this application, you can right click on it, and if you can go create add virtual directory. This was a very favorable approach in Windows XP kind of IIS 5, but now we are using IIS 7.0. So IIS, this right now we are using IIS 7.5 rather. So this is version IIS 7.5, which is the most recent one at this time of recording. So right click on this, and definitely don't have to right click on any of the existing web application. Rather you right click on the site itself and click add website. Now while you're adding a website, you must have it named appropriately. You can name it anything, like maybe cookies. Now don't expect that the name of the directory should be same as the name of the web application. It's really not so. So it can be anything. I have just for the sake of simplicity, I have to have the same name. And then comes the physical path of this application, where exactly this physical directory maps to. Now it actually maps to this decolon programming world, Pankaj, and cookies. So let me right click on it and copy text as address, because doing that you can actually copy and paste over here. That finds a suitable location for the directory where the application is hosted. And by default it assumes that you will run this application in port number 80, but really this isn't the case right now. Let me write port number 1234. If I haven't allocated that application to anyone else, any application else, I mean any other application else, this 1234 port is just fine. So let me click OK, and you have these settings that start the web server immediately. So clicking this will make sure that the application cookies has successfully started on the port number 1234. Click on it and find that application has already started listening in the port number 1234. And now how to test this? Just question please. Yes, ask me please.
How did you find the 1234 port number?
Because you see that the port number, it is one such free port number that has to be understood. Normally, you can have port numbers ranging from hundreds to thousands to 7,000. You can have any number. It's not a, it's simply a matter of number. Make it almost 4-digit number, like make it up to 7777. In fact, some of the higher port numbers are reserved for some of the very higher work, research and development activities. So make sure that you choose port numbers somewhere between thousands and 5,000. That will simply work. So it is a random one that I have chosen, and let me right now start our. Now you see that there is no Visual Studio at all. If now localhost, but right now I have to write 1234 and hit enter, so that application starts. You will find that the application is bootstrapping right now. If you see the hard disk blinking right now in my laptop, you will find that the light is blinking hot. That application has certain error definitely. Unrecognized target framework. Note that attribute are case sensitive. So what happened to the application? Why this error message? Maybe something wrong has actually been with the application that requires for us to understand a few more information about the configuration issues. Well, what we do is that, let me go straight into the folder right now, and currently let me delete this. Right. So let me just rerun this once again, because that application target, that setting is within the web config file. So better let me wipe out that that file itself and get rid of all the problems. But that isn't the solution, because I'd like to go a simple bit more depth in it. Localhost, and that is 1234. Enter. If everything is okay, if everything is hunky and dory, and you'll find the application to be running right now. Yes, everything is not so good indeed, because what happens, let me explain that. The thing is, by default, when you host application, it thinks to stick with .NET 2.0 hosting, and in .NET 2.0 you don't have link LINQ, which is a new addition from .NET 3.0 and onwards. So LINQ is not present. So let me again boil down. Let me click on it and open with simple notepad. Once more, right click on it and open with notepad. I'm quite sure, because some of the namespaces are causing the problem. So let me comment this out. So that was a small application indeed, just to show how like cookies can be read or just written. Very simple application indeed. And now let me once again just refresh the application, because better you see the errors right now before you yourself get the errors. So enter your name. You see that this really occurs like A, B, C, D, and save the information, and then read the information. You'll find the information A, B, C, D. So kill it, and then if you read it, you just don't find it. So it's kind of small cookies example that was created by me to teach some other student. So you see that the application is running just fine, but what happened earlier? Is it possible for me to import back that undo delete to get back that web config file? And what was really problem within that web config file? So let me go straight into this notepad and see what was the settings. The settings is, it requires the target framework to be 4.0. That is, it requires the .NET 4.0 ASP.NET engine to be running this particular application. For that matter, what we'll do is that go straight into it, and what I can do is that I'll right click on it, click manage website, go to advanced settings, and go to this application pool. By default, it is pool, a default pool is created for it. Now don't ask what is pool right now. It's not a pool where you swim, but definitely it's a pool where a lot of threads are started per application based, and every pool is having either two settings. Either it is basically a classic mode or an integrated mode. So there are two modes of IIS. I know this will really be confusing you right now. There are two modes of IIS in IIS 7.5. that is not previously present in the earlier versions of IIS. I mean, definitely 7 and 7.5 do have that, but not IIS 6.0, which was a part of Windows Vista, and IIS 4 and 5 was pre-built with Windows XP. So, and IIS 4 was pre-built with Windows 2000. So now in the world of Windows 7 and Windows 8, you will find IIS, the latest version of IIS, in which you'll find that you'll find two different settings. One such is classic mode, one such is integrated mode. So what I'll do is that I'll go to ASP.NET 4.0 Classic. I think that should be making sure that it has now chosen the pool. First it has chosen the integrated mode, and it has also chosen the 4.0 settings. Now let me click localhost, and if I'm not wrong, let me hit 1 2 3 4. With our web config file present, settings pointing to 4.0, it is working like a charm. That you see that right now, though our web config file is totally .NET 4.0 oriented, right? Target framework 4.0 means what I expect, that this application should be monitored and should be run by .NET framework 4.0, not 2.0. So just by making the change over to that application, sorry, this has popped up. So just by making the changes in that particular site, configuring, once again right click on it, go and click manage website, click advanced settings, and you'll find the application pool. Just change the application pool to something else. Make sure that you have the latest, you have this application being monitored by IIS, by ASP.NET 4.0 runtime, and not ASP.NET 2.0 runtime. Basically, ASP.NET 2.0 runtime is a part of ASP.NET 4.0, but still it's a part, it's not a full-fledged one. So that is why links and all was not supported. For sure, if I do this stuff, like if I go click, if I change this to the links and all these libraries, which are a native part of .NET 3.5 and above, but not was a part of .NET 2.0, now this application is not supposed to give me any exceptions. I'll just refresh it. So you see that the application loads just fine and just works. So this is how we create our application, just making sure that you so what is in nutshell, you open up IIS, you then right click on this site, just go click add new website, just name it anything, go click a physical path like whatever you just want to choose, and then click OK. And while you are creating this website, a default pool with the same name gets created, but make sure that you use a existing pool. That is, this default app pool is just fine because this is already integrated and this is 4.0. Or if you are fascinated by this particular text, that ASP.NET 4.0 is fine. Otherwise, default app pool is just also fine. Make sure the default app pool is pointing to 4.0, not 2.0. One very important thing is before you actually install Visual Studio in a fresh machine, definitely do one thing, dear students, because many students don't do this and ultimately they suffer from a lot of problems. Don't install IIS in the very beginning. You first install, I'm so sorry. You first install IIS and then go for installation of .NET framework. The reason is that when the installation of ASP.NET framework is progressing, it notices whether your system is already having IIS or not. If it is having, the installation fuses in the .NET Framework 4.0 with the IIS. Normally when you install, please make it a point, normally when you install IIS into your newly created, freshly created, formatted machine, after that if you install IIS, that will definitely be installed, but with the settings pertaining to .NET 2.0 and 3.5 maximum. So it will not, it doesn't understand 4.0 and above. So make sure that even if you are running, even if you are installing the framework in old XP systems, you have the IIS first installed, and then you get installed the your ASP.NET and the .NET Visual Studio itself. because the installation will detect the presence of IIS and will be registering the ASP.NET with your system. Otherwise, if you forget that, there is definitely a way out that will ultimately be possible to register your IIS with ASP.NET runtime. So a small search, a small googling will be just doing that, registering ASP.NET with IIS. Yes, with IIS. That's it, nothing else. So a registration tool is ASP.NET underscore regiis.exe. Definitely this tool is there, that is very handy one. So ASP.NET IIS registration tool, that is ASP.NET underscore regiis.exe is a file, and that is having a lot of options, arguments that you can pass in. Can simply, all the arguments are being listed over here. So what you can see, that register IIS, then something, root directory, node start, a lot of things are there, and after that you can do certain things. So you see that you can use ASP.NET underscore regiis to install IIS, to integrate. Look, you both have, like, by mistake you now definitely you will not format your system right now, because for those who already have Visual Studio installed in a system and you don't have IIS installed, definitely go ahead and install IIS, but make sure that installing IIS doesn't will help you to run your .NET 4.0 applications. If you have .NET 2.0 application, that can run, but to be able to run the .NET 4.0 application, you need to run these commands, so that you can simply just Google through a bit more. Though I had a long syntax, how to register the IIS with your system, and after that you can definitely deploy your projects that pertains to .NET 4.0 settings. I hope you are getting the points. Are you, students? Thank you. So now one important thing is that, one very important thing, like I must have explained this through, like you might have asked me one question, like once I create a project, maybe cookies. Now definitely this is my own computer, but to some other computer I have to copy and just give it in pen drive or like over to email. Like then he will be copying and pasting these cookies to his own computer and then link it through IIS to his directory to be able to run this application. So what if you don't want to distribute your application codes to someone else? What you can do is that you can actually make this entire stuff pre-compiled. Precompilation is the way in which you convert an otherwise readable application to some sort of DLLs and all. So Visual Studio automatically supports that, definitely, but there is a very short, a quick, a very nice way so that it is possible for us to use a tool that is basically ASP.NET pre-compilation tool to create the DLLs from this small application. So for that I have to use a small tool, that is ASP.NET pre-compilation tool. So let me first quickly show the usage of this tool, and then later tell you why is exactly this is called pre-compilation and not compilation, because we have heard about compilation, compilers. Why exactly is called pre-compilation and not exactly compilation? And how you will get this tool? Like if you go to command prompt and if you write ASP.NET underscore compiler, definitely that will not be recognized, right? So actually it's a part of Visual Studio and .NET SDK. So go click all programs, then point to Visual Studio installation folder. This is Visual Studio 2010. Right now I'm running, and then you click on Visual Studio Tools and find these guys we present over here. You'll find this Itanium crosstalk tools and everything. So I'll be simply using this Visual Studio command prompt 2010. So go click this one, and this takes a while to load the settings, and this is just fine that it has set all the settings. So this is also command prompt, and this is also a command prompt. The difference between these two command prompts is that this is a command prompt being already prepared by Visual Studio for your usage instantly, because it has already run the batch files and everything, every path has been set, and the path is being now pointing to VC directory. But definitely I can just point it to something else, maybe the root directory or just anywhere else we want it. So here we'll definitely get ASP.NET underscore compiler. I'm sorry for the spelling mistake. I think I was thinking that way. Compiler, ER, right? So compiler. So you see that now it requires certain settings so that you can actually point. It needs two things. You can definitely understand what we're doing right now. What we are doing right now. If we have got messed up, very simple. We are not going to give this stuff directly to our client, I mean my client, right, like for whom I am developing the application, because if I give him, he will definitely poke around and he'll like go and just click this notepad stuff and see this code, everything. So why should I go and just give it? So it's not required. But even if you copy and paste the application, it is possible for IIS to directly see these files and to able to run the application from this setting itself. So that is where the concept of pre-compilation comes. Compilation comes. Actually, what happens, for the short information, you can understand that computers never understand anything which is written in simple high-level languages. So definitely neither IIS, nor ASP.NET Runtime, nor .NET Framework, nobody is going to understand this CS file, because that contains raw codings, right? So for us to be able to for the .NET Framework to be able to render this, it somehow need to convert all this stuff into some compiled output, and that is being done dynamically. This compilation is being done dynamically by ASP.NET Runtime. That is what is referred to as compilation. And if you already compile it, if you already prepared the food, already handle the stuff over here, that is known as pre-compilation. That is, no, you don't have to do all this stuff. You don't have to compile it. I'll compile it on my own. I'll just compiling it, creating a just separate directory, then copy and paste the application over here. That case is known as pre-compilation. In that case, what happens is that the ASP.NET will simply escape the process of compilation. It will simply go ahead and read the file and just make it executable inside the memory, and it will just start running. So there are two ways, but you might ask a question: if it is even being compiled in the runtime, where are my DLLs? Where are those DLLs placed? The question that you definitely might ask me. So but I solve this question right now. So what I'll do is that there is very special folder in ASP.NET. If I'm not able to find that, I have to just Google it bit through. So go through this in this Windows directory. I think it should be over here itself. .NET Framework, the framework version this, and the framework version 4.0, and the temporary ASP.NET files. You'll find, oh my God, Arijit, where are you? Why are you present over here? Why Anirban is at all over here? Why add numbers is over here? Did I create anything with the name Piali? Definitely. Why are you here? So you are over here. You see, you are over here. You have a home over here. And if you click on it, you'll find all rubbish looking file structures, and within it, again rubbish looking file structure. Double click on it, you'll find a whole lot of stuff over here. And the DLLs and the CS files aren't that CS at all. They're just having some certain settings. You'll find DLLs over here. So mostly it has been compiled dynamically by the web server on runtime to some strangely looking, ugly looking folder structure having different DLLs and all. And this is a source of energy for the ASP.NET runtime. So it first makes sure that, and what the hell is this hash? There is like a lot of things goes all around, because these are the essence of this class that I wanted to teach you. Is this compilation is just fine if you want to copy and paste. If you feel that it is your own web server, and like nobody is going to poke around your code, it's your own web server, definitely go and paste the just go and paste the pages, because that is the fastest way, right? Because you don't have to compile it, create DLLs, and then copy to the web server route, right? You copy and paste it directly. In that case, what happens, I can tell you one thing, dear students, like definitely you will find these cookies to be present over here also. Over here also, you'll find that to be present over here also. Somehow, definitely cookies, see cookies. Yes, that's fine. You see cookies to be here. Is it November? Is it actually, like it was first created in the 26 December, 26 November 1st, when I taught Pankaj. So it has been actually like it just was the date where it was created. So nevertheless, you will find all the applications, everything to be present within this particular temporary ASP.NET file, which is within the framework version 4.0, which is the framework directory, Microsoft.NET, Windows, and C drive. So that was indeed very nice. But the question is that about a very important distinction between the execution of ASP.NET application and a normal PHP or JSP applications or other applications. I'm sorry, other guys, if I'm wrong on your technology, but ASP.NET definitely works in this way. What is the way? The way is that when you first time invoke the application, it takes a while to start. It is because the ASP.NET server is compiling your application and is placing all those erotic looking files into those temporary ASP.NET folder. And second, it does a compilation. The compilation means, it basically puts the compiled output into memory, right? It caches the compiled exes into the memory. So these are the two steps that goes all around. What if we suddenly change one such file? Say, even right now, what I mean is very simple thing. Let me just tell it, just instead of confusing you. Like, I have this localhost and this 1234 executing right now. Hit enter, and that runs like so fast. But like maybe that I have some data right now, and save information and then read information. That works simply fast with just before the blink of your eyes. But what if I do certain change right now? Like if I go to this, let me go to this cookies folder and let me do simple tweaking, like maybe just open with this notepad, and maybe that within this data not found, let me write like date your information is, then a plus, very simple one. I think everybody will just understand this one, a simple string concatenation. Now the moment, believe me or not, the moment I have pressed save, 1 2 3 save, IIS has detected, the ASP.NET has, actually not IIS, ASP.NET has detected a change in the source of the program, because the program never runs from here, to be very explicitly speaking. Ultimately, it converts the stuff into this these strangely looking files and folders. It runs, compiles everything from this. What it detected is that, okay, there is a change. There is a change, like there is a change, certain change with the original source code and the compiled code. Now, this moment, if I run this application, it will take a certain more while to run. Like, if I click read, you'll find definitely this will just rotate a few more seconds, maybe 1 second more. Click, you see, is it not rotating? It has rotated for a few more seconds, and ultimately we got the most recent info equals AAA. What happened is that Visual Studio simply thrown away the existing DLLs out there, recompiled it, and placed it onto that particular folder, and this occurs automatically without any halting of the web server, without any restarting of the web server. In the previous versions of the ASP, that was basically classic ASP, if you ever want to register certain controls, anything, the web server needed to be restarted, because any control, there will be some sharing violation. Moment the web server is actually executing, is reading this file, you cannot change any of these contents. because these are being monitored by the web server. Like if you have ever gone through simple stuff like deletion of SQL Server files or changing SQL Server files, can you do it? The answer is no, because SQL Server is monitoring on the change. You cannot simply delete or update. So a similar kind of thing happens with the ASP.NET Engine also, but what it does in addition to that, it detects any change, any healthy change, and thereafter if there is second request on the same resource, it simply goes ahead and it compiles the resource that time on fly. So what I do is that every time I actually run my own, I do certain change in my own website, that is www.supernovaservices.com. What I do is that at least for one time I run it by myself, because if someone else, supernovaservices.com, like I've hit enter and it is downloading right now. So you see it has downloaded very fast indeed. So because the web server, the application is up and running in the server's memory. So this is what actually happens in the web server. So every time I just place any file, change anything, I just run it by myself once, because I don't want anybody else to wait that much long time and ultimately close the browser out of frustration. So make sure that if you upload any of the things, you should definitely be just at least hitting it once, so that the application immediately gets loaded into the memory. So last, like how do you really, see the last thing that I am going to tell you right now is how do you really pre-compile a website. That is, you know for sure that there will be no such changes and made to your web application. Moreover, you are handling the output to your client, and you don't want the client to poke all around your web codes. You just want the client to execute your application. How do I do this? There is certain settings with this ASP.NET compiler tools. So basically I have copied it from some source from one of my previous example. What I need to do is that it's a very simple tool that need two things. One, the tool is that you need to write ASP_NET compiler. Then P is for physical path. So this is the physical path directory. And V is for the virtual path. That is where exactly you want the stuff to be dumped. Now, this is actually the path exactly where you want the DLL to be dumped right now, right? So what I'll do is that I will now here I have to replace. Now let me have this, because the application is all about that. So let me have this, and let me change the path, the source path over here. The source path is definitely the cookies, because this is where, I'm sorry, not this one indeed, the path which contains the normal source code files. So copy address as text once more, and copy and type in over here. There's a physical path, so you have to write -p and -v, and before -v and this information you have to just give a slash, which I normally forget every time. So I'm in a habit of copying and pasting from my old work. So, and this target directory is whatever you can just write, whatever target directory you want. Maybe that you want C:(cookies) or D:(cookies), wherever you just want it to be dumped. D:(cookies). So D:(cookies), and now I need to copy this one. Please understand, P is the physical location of where exactly your source code files are there, and D is, you can write my cookies, your cookies, whatever, and this is the folder. If not present, it will be created in fly, and it will be having certain things. Now watch out what it will be having. Paste it over here and hit enter. Utility to precompile ASP.NET application has started. It is starting. If you watch my hard disk blinking, it is really compiling, and once it finishes, without any message that finishes, that means you have got the if you don't mind this word, vomited stuff within this D drive cookies, because it has output all the things within this, and you will find the house of the DLLs to be present over here. And the beauty of this tool is that it compiles the site to almost a single DLL, right? So this is one such thing. And another beauty of the thing is that now it not only has taken away the default.aspx.cs, It has also taken away, if you see, you will be amazed. Go click notepad. Just I want to open this up. You don't have even any HTML over here right now even. So even if your HTMLs are all locked, why? Do you think that you are intelligent because you are developer in your company? Aren't the designers also demand the same rights and same dignity in your company? Definitely so. Because this is a file where designers work. They have all the JavaScripts, everything. They have their HTML codes, everything. So definitely both designing and development both are completely locked. Just because if you don't have this file, you will not be having like which file to hit, right? You need just the endpoint. It just exposes the endpoint. So let me do one more stuff, is that let me expose this application quite fast. Like let me just name it for your convenience, like compiled, pre-compiled rather, pre-compiled cookies over here. And let me create very fast for your quick revision work also, and for the sake of showing that I want to create another application running in 1, 2, 3, 4. This time maybe 1, 2, 3, 5, right? Which points to pre-compiled cookies. So go ahead and right click on the website, click apps, new website, and select cookies pre-compiled, pre-comp. You can name it anything as you wish. It's not an issue at all. Just make sure that you are having pointed to right location. So going to D drive and going to pre-compile cookies, that's fine, and clicking OK, and then you choose a a simple port number, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe this time 4, 3, 2, 1, that is fine, and make sure that you select a proper framework. So default app pool is right now fine. Click OK and make sure that it starts immediately, and click OK once more. We have a running application which is cookies pre-compiled. The quickest way to check this is not to go to browser and just do check it. Just definitely click over here and click over here, browse 4331, right? So browse. So clicking this, that will definitely open up the browser, the default browser, which is the Internet Explorer. And it is taking some time because it's compiling once more. It is taking the compiled output into the memory, so that definitely takes some time just for the first time. But you can be rest assured that you haven't sold your intellectual property to your client. I mean your software client. You have just given the thing that he wants. But now if you right click on it and if you write just view source, you will find all the HTMLs being created by the web server and being shown to the user. And same stuff, you just see one stuff, read, data not found. So 1, 2, 3, 4 once more. Okay, let me just do one thing. Let me just do one stuff. This is though a thing pertaining to cookies. There are two applications right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can check one thing, like I have saved all these A's and read, it writes info a. And let me open up another search with the application that is HTTP localhost, but now this time port number is 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter and read, it reads AAA. So that means cookies are normally persistent among two applications in the same web server. So that was a different scenario for doing like single sign-on situation is really not required for the applications running on a single machine. So this is a different scenario though. So just I want to show you that cookies under one application can really be read under cookies under another application, provided you are definitely using the same web browser, right? Anyway, dear students, I hope you have got the conceptual overlaying and overview of how to install IIS. What is the underlying mechanism of ASP.NET compilation stuff? That is, ASP.NET page is compiled every time you make a change and is requested from a client, and even if you don't want it, it really gets compiled to a strangely looking directory, which is that C colon Windows, then Microsoft.NET, then ASP.NET temporary files. You have all those files being present over there. And most importantly, if you don't want to sell off your intellectual property to your client, what you can do is that you can basically compile it using this pre-compilation tool that is really indeed very handy, and that basically makes sure that you can actually create the DLLs, and then you just you send email, whatever you do, this path to your client, that hey, you take this one, I already have created it for you, where is my this one. So you can simply zip this, email this to your client, do whatever you want, so that the client doesn't see every of these outputs. So that was all about simple but yet informative class on ASP.NET. Any doubts, dear students, regarding this?
No, sir.
Have you enjoyed the class?
Yes.
Thank you very much, dear students. Hope we see you back.